Hello, welcome to another edition of Talking Basketball Podcast. I am Mark.
I am Paul. Hello.
Hello, hello. We've got another guest, Paul.
Mark, we have got a fantastic guest this week.
Does it get better than this?
No, it doesn't. It does not get better than this. And
to use your wording, Paul, we are international now.
hey, this guy's coming to us from the future as well. If you think about it, we are
coming from the future.
Breaking all records on the show once again with what we're about to do. We have someone coming to us from Australia, and let me introduce him right now. And now, stand and cheer for your Adelaide 36ers General Manager of Media, Dale Fletcher. That was a good one. You all right, Dale?
Am I supposed to talk now?
Yeah. That was a good one. How you doing, Dale? Are you okay?
Good, boys. How are we going? Yeah, so the future's quite good over here too. It's a bit cold, but it's going well down under.
It's the winter over there, yeah?
It is. It's bitterly cold. Well, it's 7-8 degrees at night, so that's probably not cold as what you boys can.
Yeah, know the audience, Dale. Know the audience.
So your winter's like our summer. So it's like the summer over there.
Yeah,
Yes.
I'm cracking the shorts out at 5, so, you know.
Well, for our...
I'm the same. When it gets to 20, I got the shorts on, so trust me.
Well, for our listeners, we had an episode all about the Adelaide 36ers, a great episode, and it was all based around the experience when I went over to Australia, and Dale was the guy who really looked after me over there. And again, the hospitality I received from Dale and the 36ers was absolutely amazing, and I've said about my appreciation. Dale, thank you for that. That was absolutely amazing. But it was one of those things we've been talking about a while, getting Dale back onto the show to talk about Adelaide. And I feel, Dale, I injected a bit of good luck into the 36ers.
Well, you did, mate. Like the Christmas Eve, you came, and we hadn't won for a while. Might have just sacked our coach a couple of weeks earlier, which as the general manager of media was probably not the easiest couple of weeks to deal with. But we got the interim coach in Scott Ninnis, who's a club legend here. Has been he will tell you that he is the only person to be involved in all 4 championships that the club's won. So he was a player in 2 of them and an assistant coach in the other 2. So so he came in, and then Paul rocked up Christmas Eve, and we beat Brisbane, and we won't talk about the game a couple of days later, which might have stunk the place up a little bit. But we ended up winning 7 of the last 10 games, and was in a chance to sneak into the play-in tournament at the end of the season. Just missed out by a game in percentage. So Paul rocked up on Christmas Eve, and the season just turned on its head pretty much.
There you go. And you know what?
You're dining out on that, aren't you?
I was
absolutely dining out on that.
Anyone I talk to, I'm so positive about. If anyone is in Adelaide, go and watch the 36ers game. I would almost say, no, I think I would say, in many ways, it's actually better than an NBA game.
I'm actually going to use your words.
It's definitely louder.
Your words were, that's the standard.
Yeah, that is. It's a great standard.
That's the standard.
You know, one of the things that really stood out that I loved about it's little subtle differences they do is they're really enthusiastic, obviously, when they're supporting the introducing the home team.
Yeah.
And then you had was it the Brisbane Bullets all standing there, and then and they're playing the Brisbane Bullets, and that was it. That was the intro for the away team, but. You don't normally see that. You get a whole intro, but I love that. That was like home court advantage. Yeah, you're Brisbane. There you go. Let's rock on. Let's play. That was great.
Yeah, that does make a huge difference. Once I get into it, Are there rules around that, Dale? Because we have there's rules and local leagues and things here that you have to do certain announcements, don't you? You have to do certain things to that.
Yeah, there is. It's sort of up to the home club's discretion. So there's teams around the league, like the national anthem, for example. Like I know Melbourne United always play the national anthem before the game, so it would be like the teams would get introduced onto the court. Then there'd be the national anthem, and then the warm up would continue. So there's some home clubs that do that. We don't do that. We don't play the national anthem. But there's some venues around the country that introduce the opposition team player by player, but then majority of them just do the literal bare minimum. And there's some funny songs that the opposition teams run out to across the country, like the Willie Nelsons of the world, and it's Star Wars themes, and it's sort of to put the opposition offside. But I know there's a story back from the NBL 23 season. I was actually in the tunnel before the opposition team was about to get announced, and one of the star players from the team says, pretty much telling the players that hadn't even come or even been put in front of some sort of the reaction like this, and he's like, if they played this song, I'm going to have a good game and we're going to win. And funnily enough, it was the song, I think it was March of the Ants, or I don't know, it was one of those songs that it really puts the opposition team off, or supposed to. But that team got a lot of confidence out of that. So sometimes it works in the wrong way.
The one that I use for the Portsmouth Force games is it's a Who song. It's a Who song, and it's Who Are You? Who? Do you know that one? And I just have that on repeat.
Well performed.
There you go. Well, you're welcome.
Copyright strike.
And it just keeps going round and round and round. But in England, we have to introduce the whole team.
I mean, look, you've just said that. I said copyright. Dale, what is the deal with copyright music, that sort of stuff, and playing in that? Is there a specific thing that the stadium or the team has to have in order to do stuff like that? That was one of my questions.
It's fine. It's you can it's commercialized music's fine. Even some of the commentary around the production of games, and some people say there's too much music. Some people say there's not enough. Other people call it, it's a rock concert going with a basketball game in the background, and
that's what he said. That's exactly what Paul said. He was like that. It was like a concert. It was all going on.
Yeah. So it's a family friendly production, the NBL. So they have the pop songs day, where it's catered for all. It's catered for your basketball enthusiasts. It's catered for families that know songs or know not much about basketball, but are there for the experience and the fun. And there's Murray the Magpie, Paul's favourite. So he's a fan. He's a fan favourite with most of the kids. So it tries and caters for all. But no, the copyright issue is that there is none.
Okay, but what I would say,
it's all fair use, isn't it? A lot of the time with stuff like that nowadays, because it's just everywhere, isn't it? It's sometimes
and we have radio partners, so local radio stations. They're like the media partners of either the league or the clubs. So we can basically play the music that they play.
Yeah.
So, and when we were at the game against Brisbane, I was sat next to Dale, and he was like, "In a few minutes, you're not going to be able to hear me say anything." And I was like, okay, thinking, I wonder how loud this is going to go. Literally, you cannot hear each other say anything. It is that loud. But I thought it was great. I thought that, for me, it was like you said, it's I'd say world standard. I know that sounds silly when you think of the NBA.
Not at all.
Go to NBA games and then go to Adelaide, and you'll see what I'm saying. It is like
it's the same thing as when they show
standard to go.
They show on the NBA and they interview someone like Luka or Jokic, and they'll say, "Hey, what's it like playing in Miami?" And they're like, "Mate, I played in Serbia." Like they're having a football they're like football riot going on in the stands with like 15,000 people. Like this is, this is nothing.
I would say crowd interaction would be very much similar to like an NBA style, more than what we see in Europe.
Yes. Yeah.
But it's volume wise, I thought it was great.
How important would you say that experience is, Dale? The whole, not just the atmosphere that you have to build, but the whole experience of a game.
Yeah, it's a big thing because there's most of the time, or over the last few years, we haven't been that successful. So even without, there'd be fans where, me from a basketball background would, be disheartened that, we've lost again, or that we lost the game, lost a close game, we should have won that game. But majority of the people you speak to is like, well, how good was that? How exciting and entertaining was that? Like sometimes the result doesn't matter, which for me as a basketball person through and through, I always the result it's the be all and end all. But I'm sort of coming to terms with understanding the fact that it's also an entertainment model, and if 98% you love it because of the entertainment, but you lose sometimes, or obviously when the fans vote with their feet here. So the last 8 games we sold out. So
congrats, that's awesome.
So it goes to show that results are key, but they're not the actual be all and end all of getting fans into the arena.
I know exactly what you mean there, because I went and watched a game and it went into the home team were behind by 10, ended up going into overtime, and they lost by 1 point, and everyone was like, oh, and in my head I was like, we've probably just watched the greatest basketball game this city has ever seen. That's what you got to focus on, is like, so I know exactly what you're saying. It was a great game, just didn't get the result.
How difficult is that for you, Dale, when you're there thinking, we're running a great experience tonight and it is absolutely going off. Everyone's having a buzzing time.
He's passionate. He's sitting there going, damn it.
And we're down. And how difficult is it for you, I want to say professionally, to separate the passion from professionally, this is going off and we're doing a great job. But personally, I'm thinking, why are you playing that guy? Why are you not doing this? How difficult is it to keep that in the box?
Well, I'll be brutally honest. I'm not actually looking at the entertainment and the actual, the interactions and stuff like that. I'm so invested in the game that sometimes that sort of drowns out. I know that's going to happen. So I know there's going to be, certain song played at a certain time, and various activations from corporate partners that I know that are involved anyway. So it's sort of, all home games are different. That we make sure that all the home games are a little bit different. So if you're like a 14 game season ticket holder, the key for us is not every game is different. So it's not like, oh, I'm going to the 36ers game, it's going to be the same, rinse and repeat type game. So there's different themes and stuff like that. But for me, from the media point of view, I'm actually always, I'm sitting there, Paul would know, I ride the waves pretty much play by play. It also, at the back end there, also helps that, or didn't help really, that Scott Ninnis, the interim coach, was, I was part of his coaching staff a few years ago. So he's a good family friend of mine. So that's added another layer to it, but also just thinking of the different angles and the narratives that the club will come up with. If we win here, if we lose here, he's really got to work on the fly, really. So you got to think of the worst and the best case scenario in the back of your head, and while you're thinking of all that, there's a game going on in front of you. So it's quite challenging, but I am one that wants to win everything.
Everything. Every single thing. So does that include
Everything.
Do you have pre-season, like pre-season warm-up
Yeah.
games?
Mark,
Yeah,
they're playing NBA teams in their pre-season.
Yeah, no, that's what I mean. Like, how long is the pre-season and stuff? I'm just putting a context for those who are like, new to the NBL and the sort of figuring.
So the pre-season, there's an NBL Blitz, which all the clubs come together for a week. Last year it was on the Gold Coast.
Right.
It's usually in a place that doesn't have a team. So it was in Darwin a couple of years ago, and then was Gold Coast last year. So that's all the teams come together for a week. Every team plays 3 games. The league gets a lot of the stuff, like all the media days and the stuff like that, done during that week. There's also a lot of community stuff with school visits and that. So because you got 10 NBL teams in one place at one time, so it really puts the league on the map there. So that's the official pre-season. But before that, that's usually in September. But usually in August, clubs organise their own pre-season games. I know the 36ers have a regional pre-season game in Mount Gambier. We went to Mount Gambier last year. That's about 5-6 hour drive from Adelaide. So Mount Gambier are a big NBL 1 club. They play in the South Conference. So they've got a brand new facility down there in Mount Gambier. So we have a pre-season game there every year. We're hoping to go back there this year as well. So that was good. And then the clubs just organise games amongst themselves, really. So other than the Blitz, that's the actual official league pre-season. But there's pre-season games before that, and then the NBL NBA games are usually in the NBA pre-season. So the clubs that are involved in that actually take a 3-week break from the actual season to go over and play those games. So sometimes it's to a detriment of the NBL clubs that go over there, because you play a couple of games and then you don't play for a month and you go to the States for 2 weeks and come back and jet lagged and you have to catch up all your games. So I know a couple of the teams, the Cairns Taipans last year did it. They struggled a little bit early because of that trip to the States. And I know for a fact when we went to America in 2022, we're lucky enough to beat the Phoenix Suns, which was another story in itself. But we actually came back. The NBL season started while we were overseas. So we actually came back, and our first game wasn't until round 3 of the season, and we had to play catch up, and guys were jet lagged, and we had a lot of games to catch up on, and it sort of derailed our season after beating the Phoenix Suns. So it has its pros and cons.
Oh yeah.
Well, let's talk about that, Dale, because you had a big smile on your face when Adelaide beat Phoenix Suns. Let's talk about that.
Well, I was there. There was 16,000 there, and I still can't believe it happened, to be fair. Like, I had the best seat in the house. I was sitting on the score bench, footprint center. You know, the fist bumping Devin Booker and Chris Paul and
nice.
DeAndre Ayton, Bridges, Cam Johnson. They played their full team. Their full team played for 23 of the 48 minutes. So they were supposed to come in, and the big guns were supposed to, get a bit of a margin on us, and then the bench were probably supposed to roll in, but they had to put the big guns on back after half time because we were just shooting the absolute PI 55 out of it, to be fair. Like, it was 24 42 3-pointers that we hit in the game. So we sort of shot the ball pretty well, and probably haven't shot it that well ever again, to be fair.
That was it. That was your season quota. You just took it over there and used it.
That was the season. So, it was a fantastic night for the club, and from a media perspective, to take you behind the scenes there, like, it was because of the time difference. Like, it was in the early morning in South Australia. So the game, obviously wrapped up probably about 10:30, I reckon, there in Phoenix time. And then obviously we won, and then everyone back at home wanted a piece of us. So, I had to burn the early morning oils. I was probably up until 3-4 in the morning, dealing with TV stations and radio stations and newspapers wanting, interviews and that. And it's like, guys, you do know it's 3 in the morning. I probably can't go and get, the star players of the night because they're asleep. You probably have to wait until the next morning. But we got on the front pages of papers, and it was the $1.8 million team beat the $200 million NBA team. So that was that was pretty big. And I remember going to sleep and waking up. My phone had voicemails the next morning. There was TMZ, there was the LA Times, New York Times, there was ESPN, and that's when I thought, well, I think we've made world headlines.
Yeah.
And
Made a little bit of a ripple there.
went from there, and there was a couple of days. We had a couple of days off, and then went and played Oklahoma City Thunder, which was meant to be the bigger game of the trip, because we're playing Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey played for the 36ers as an NBL Next Star, and that was one of the main reasons of the trip. We were going to play Josh Giddey, and in the end, it was like we were coming off the back of beating the Phoenix Suns, and we're coming to play Josh Giddey, and we had everyone wanting a piece of us for about 4 or 5 days there. So that was didn't get much sleep that week.
I'm not going to feel sorry for you at all.
That is awesome, isn't it?
Not at all.
How many messages?
This actual laptop that I'm speaking on right now did all the Zoom interviews with the TMZs and the ESPNs and the LA Times of the world. So I was wheeling out the players, but it was quite an interesting experience.
So what from that experience would you take and say, you know what, I think we do that better?
Well, we missed 18 3-pointers, so for 24 or 42, we could have put
from a professional perspective on the media side of things. There's things, obviously, you have different
players aren't allowed to go to bed till 3 a.m.
different ecosystems, obviously within the NBA and the NBL that make there's those little parts. But I mean, there's certain things about the day and how things are run and how those bits are done. You must have thought at some points, like, you know what, I think we do this better.
Oh, hang on. Sorry. You hear that?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
We've got a lot of planes going over and stuff, and you'll hear them all in the background. And we're down in Portsmouth.
The King's here.
It's the home of the Royal Navy, and we're doing a D-Day celebration. So one of the celebrations, because it's the 80th year. So the King's here today, as Paul said, and we've got like
Charlie.
red arrows and all sorts of things going on. Yeah,
Charlie here.
I did ask him to swing
Sorry,
by.
His Royal Highness.
Yeah,
is here.
he can't swing by the studio. And
No. He was going to come in. I said,
Chucky, let's go.
no, your Grace. We have Dale Fletcher.
Exactly. Listen,
You're not coming in.
Dale's been on TMZ as Prince Charles.
Well,
been
I
on
haven't. My computer has.
But Prince Charles hasn't been on TMZ. I'm just saying they haven't called it.
Yeah.
Well, they might have called
Prince
him.
Charles hasn't been front row watching Adelaide 36ers.
Well, he's coming to Australia pretty soon.
Oh,
So
is he?
might have to give him a ticket. So
Keep him there for a while. If you
Hey, this is a shout out to. Hang on, I said Prince Charles. Man, it's bizarre, isn't it?
Yeah.
A few years old.
The man who likes his history.
Yeah.
Dear, oh dear.
The King Charles, if he doesn't go to Adelaide 36ers, he's missing out. 100%. You are missing out.
No, I love it. I love that when, we reached out to you and you were so accommodating and it was so short notice. And, with Paul's experience there, when he came back, he's like, mate, it's just like a different level. It's a different experience. And, you went and then you took the kids as well. And you're like, they all loved it. And they were saying, oh, should we do this back in Portsmouth? You're like, yeah, we don't have like an arena. We don't have like this whole infrastructure, but there were so many things that you took away from that.
Oh, yeah. I mean, it's so many inspirations even from like a little tune that they might play to something the mascot does. It was, it was just inspiration at every level, everywhere you looked.
But better than you were saying, how many times it's better than the NBA? And I think I'm just trying to point this point across, because those listening, we often think of the NBA being a pinnacle, and a lot of people have done, certainly in the UK for many years. Like that's where in basketball you strive to. But when you go across and you look at EuroLeague, I mean, even our own British Basketball League, it's a different game and there's a different atmosphere. And it's like people need to experience these, because they always offer something different. And the thing that you loved about Adelaide was it's just more. It's the American experience, but more. Because sometimes in America it can be little too family friendly.
I liked your analogy of a rock concert at a basketball game. Yeah. That's how I would describe it. And I thought it was great. And my kids are 2 boys. One's, Jesus, how old are they? 10 and 12.
Not the Milkmans, definitely yours.
10 and 12. And they left like that was the most amazing thing I've done on holiday. And like if you lived, if either of us lived in Adelaide, you'd be getting a season ticket without question. You'd be going, I'm going to get a season ticket standard, like every year.
It's a 28 game season and it's 14 home games. You said, Dale.
Mm-hmm. And that's my point, Paul, because you went to a game where we lost by 15 points.
Yeah.
The Perth Wildcats destroyed us that night, and for you to say that how your family enjoyed it that much, for me, I always remember it as a 15-point loss, and we had no chance of winning the game. Points of the game were down by 20 plus, and I was like, "Geez, this is a bad loss." But then there's families like Paul's that will always say, "How fantastic is this?" And here am I thinking that the world's ended because we've lost by 15 points.
Yeah.
If the game does the way in which you approach the entertainment, the media, and that aspect of things, does that change depending on the actual pace of the gaming? So if the game is a really close game, I won't say can the media or the music and the atmosphere and stuff, do you react to that as the game's going on?
Yeah, well, to explain it, like my media side of it is completely, well, it's not completely opposite, but it's different to the actual game production. So we have a game day production crew who are in charge of all of that stuff. The music, the Murray Magpie, the fireworks after a 3-pointer goes in, all the throwing the fruit chocks in the crowd. The Hungry Jacks, all that stuff.
Hungry Jacks.
So I've got a funny story about Hungry Jacks that I'll tell a bit later. But from the media side, Mark, it's sort of the same. So the broadcast, so ESPN, the host broadcaster, always send me an email of like, before the game, we want to talk to this player and that player, and it's the timings of it has to be in 90 minutes before, and then 75 minutes before, and then they have to be ready. So I've got to get the players and the coach ready for those pre-game interviews, and then it doesn't matter sort of the result. It could be 1 point double overtime or 25-point blowout. Still the same like interviews and that have to be done.
Okay.
It's just whether. Like, they always do a quarter time. There's also, I have sort of a hand signal with the team manager when the camera's going to go into the timeout. So whenever the coach's mic's live, because the head coach has a mic, is mic'd up, but it's whenever the broadcast wants to turn on said mic. So how
many times has that gone wrong?
I've listened to a lot of head coach mics in my time the last 2 years, and there's a few adjectives in it. Trust me. But there's stuff like that, and if you're leading at halftime, one of your players has to be available for a live broadcast. A walk off. Yeah. So I brief all the players on that, and then. It really is the only difference or the changes is post game. is whether if the game's gone too fast or the game's gone too long, they might have to pad to get, because it's a 2-hour package on television. So if it goes to double overtime, there'll probably be like one interview with the best player and that'll be it. But sometimes in a normal game, there would be probably a 10-15 minute sort of like wrap up of the game, where there would be an interview with the player of the game. So if you win, it's obviously more than likely to be our player, and then they'll probably want to interview the coach and another player. But if you lose, fortunately I don't have to worry about it, but I would rather worry about getting people to interview, because that means that we've won the game.
Well, I mean, I was thinking if it's a game that goes into overtime and then it's a loss, and then you're right at the very end of the TV, think that's great. It's like I've only got this contracted window. I've got to get these people out front as necessary. Yeah.
So and that would be that would go to the other team, and like at this point in time, I'm sort of semi in charge of the other team too, because we're getting to the stage now where we're just working through with how the media managers travel with the team for the whole season. Like I was fortunate enough, my first season I went with the team because it has to be. Or I think it's a given, because it's a professional league. There's broadcast deals. We need people on the ground. So it's. I think it should be standard that the media managers travel with the team. Like every other sports code in Australia, it happens. So we're getting to that stage, and going from every game in NBL 23 to not going last season at all. There's a stark difference, and there's a lot of stuff that we can do better, and we're learning every day. So most of the home games, like with that Brisbane game, for example, Paul, there was stuff pre-game, but like all those Brisbane interviews, I got sent like the times they had to do, so I had to like manage them as well. So it was like the home team's media manager have to manage them. But once we get to that stage where the media managers all travel, then that would obviously make life a hell of a lot easier, and a lot more opportunities for me to create more stuff for our fans, rather than worrying about the opposition.
Yeah, because I guess they're using you as an asset of the arena, essentially, when they're traveling. And so they come to you and say, right, he's the guy in charge of this media aspect. That's it. Both teams, you coordinate with him, and you coordinate everything that's going in and out. So for like someone like ESPN that you mentioned, you're only talking with one person rather than duplicating all the I need everyone.
Yeah. So
I can see how that would work for the TV.
The clubs and the broadcasters talk leading up to the game, like with times and that. So none of the times ever clash. It's just actually the person on the ground on game day, and the Murphy's Law, like, heaps of times it's changed and changes on the fly, and there's different players warming up at different times, and there's been sometimes, even in Australia, there's different time zones in different states in Australia, and if there's email gets sent, and it could be half an hour out, and they think, oh, I thought it was this time, but it's the 9 to say it's 5:30. I thought it was 5:30 local time. I thought it was 5:30 our time. It's stuff can get miscommunicated like that. So media managers with the team is a no-brainer for me, but then post-game as well, there's a press conference. You didn't go to the press conference, Paul, did you?
No, I didn't. I'll be honest.
He forgot.
You should have.
No, he forgot which door it was and didn't want to walk in. And you can know I'm right because of his reaction.
I went to go down. I was like, because you disappeared, obviously go and do all your stuff, and I was like, he did say it was over here, and there was 2 doors, and I thought. One was literally opening up to where, the desk bit where you've got the thing behind.
Yeah.
One of the doors opens right up on that. And I thought, I don't want to open up a door and be like, in that moment, if you know what I mean.
Oh, I love that.
I didn't want to open up another door and be like walking in a change room or somewhere I shouldn't be. So I just thought, I'm just gonna shoot off. But that's why, Dale. That is why.
Walk in. Hello.
I knew I went round to the left, but I was like, it's left. Where do I go from here? Damn
You
it.
should have taken it, owned it, walked in and gone, yeah, I'm the new signing. Just letting everyone know.
Yeah, and they would take one look and go, no, you're not.
New international player. Yeah.
That's why.
Well, no. Well, I apologise for that. I probably should have told you. You should have just come with me. It would have been an experience because post game, there's a radio call, so I have to go out onto the court. So that's why I left you, like onto the court, and there would be more than just the broadcast or the television interviews. There's players getting interviewed on radio, and there's headphones going on players left, right, and centre. So I've got to manage that. Then post that, there's the SEN radio or our website app. Or SEN is a radio station here, but they broadcast their radio call on our club app, so you can actually log into the app and listen to the commentary while you're in the stadium, or you can sync it to the TV at home, so you don't have to listen to the TV commentary. You can listen to the Adelaide commentary. So there's that. So there's a player has to be on that 10 minutes after the buzzer. So I'm running on the court, I'm running into our change rooms, getting that player. Then also, which would alleviate this if the media managers travelled with the teams, which they will be hopefully this year for everyone. I've got to go into the opposition change rooms in all my 36ers kit and go, it's 15 minutes after the buzzer. You need the coach and one of the starting 5 players to go to the press conference. So the said press conference is like through a tunnel and then in a door and then up some stairs and then around. So the press conference room, which is sort of my world pre-game, is all these different media banners. So there's obviously one for us, and then the opposition just throw me a bag and you got to build it. So that's usually an hour, 90 minutes before the game is building that. So, and all the broadcast mics and feeds and all a little meeting boardroom at the entertainment centre turns into this press conference room, and it's not the biggest room in the world. You probably wouldn't want to swing a cat in it. So it's putting together big media banners and then hitting the ceiling and the walls, and it's by itself, it's challenging. There's a few adjectives that get said in that room as well. But then there's that. So then it's actually getting the coach and the player from the opposition up, and hopefully they've lost. So they're pretty angry. So it's getting them in,
pushing
and
them
then
with a smile. There you go. Just
That's even worse, isn't it? That the friendly media manager comes, hello, fellas, go on, in you go.
Here's the box score, by the way, just in case you need it.
I've got to give them that as well. Don't worry about that. So hopefully we won, and then I'll give them the stats and rub it in here, just in case you know the score. That's the score. And then then there's a Zoom element too. So I've got to set up the Zoom. So because majority of the journos are it's Australia wide, so anyone can join. So we were playing Brisbane that night, so there'd be journalists from Queensland logging in and asking questions during the Brisbane press conference, and 9 times out of 10 they finish and they leave, and then the people in the room only answer questions for Adelaide. But there's all of that. So, and once they finish, pack up their wall, and I literally got to run down and give them their bag, and then actually go to our change room, and hopefully people are still there. And then I forewarn who's up, and 9 times out of 10 they're the last player just sitting there, either in their feet in ice and the coach is ready, and then I walk in and I get a Bronx cheer and say, finally Dale, let's go, and our press conference happens, and I can go home, and pretty much 2.5 hours after the buzzer sounded.
So
it's like the calm before the storm, then it goes mental, and then it just.
So when are you getting there on
then.
game day, then, Dale? Because like Paul's just saying there, you get the calm before the storm, then obviously then everything goes on, then you have all this afterwards. On a game day, when are you getting there?
So game day, usually our team, or the home team, has a shoot around at 9 o'clock in the morning. So let's just say it's a normal 7:30 tip off. So our team would shoot around 9 a.m. till 10:30. Then the away team get the court from 11 till 12:30, something like along those lines. So I usually aim to get there around about 10:10, while we're still shooting around, because more often I organise with the visiting team that they bring their media wall to their shoot around. So by rules, no one from 36ers are allowed in the arena while they're shooting around. So which makes sense. You don't want to, then we could be going through, so it's a closed session really. So
is that a league rule, or is that just a
league rule? Yeah, okay. League rule.
And does that include you? That includes you as well, obviously.
That includes me, but everyone laughs. It's like, here, Dale, here's the media wall. I know the press conference room is, through a door and up the stairs and around I'm nowhere near the court. So, and I'm just building a wall by myself and swearing at it. So,
as he takes off his body cam. Yeah, no, I'm not watching anything.
That's really interesting.
Then the moment their media wall's built, that press conference room is ready to go, I get to go home for a few hours, and go to the gym, go for a run or whatever, sort of a bit like a chef's day, really. If you did the breakfast shift and then have the day off, and then probably get back to the arena about 4, just a bit before 4, just going around the arena, double checking that all those spots, Paul, have power and they've got enough seats. And where we sat is, sometimes there's not enough PowerPoints for the media that are covering the game, and make sure there's been a few times where there's been 7 seats and 8 journalists, so that doesn't really work out. Just stuff like that, just so everything can run smoothly. Talk to the TV producer on the ground, double check everything like that. There's a few times this season that their TV spot has changed, which is it's just challenging, but we get it all done. So, and then by the time the game comes around, it's into game mode, and the game seems to go for like 5 minutes. So it feels like the game goes for 5 minutes, and then once the buzzer sounds, what I just explained before, that's when Dale Fletcher's happy hour starts after the buzzer sounds.
You know what? That was, I will be honest, that was my only criticism, and it's not Adelaide, it's Australian basketball. You guys have a really weird buzzer. Like the one that we're used to is like really bassy, like you hear in the NBA. Yours is this real high pitch.
Yeah, it's no good, but I've got used to it.
Because I was like, what is that
it's
noise?
League wide.
Like,
it's everywhere.
Looking around, what
it's
is
the
that?
Same one. It's the same one.
And I realised it was a buzzer. I gotta say, what I really loved about seeing you when you were walking around the court and doing all your stuff was the interactions you had with the people, from security to the player. The one that I remember was DJ. I might butcher this, but Vasiljevic, is that it? Vasiljevic. Have I said that right?
Vasiljevic. Yep, DJ Vasiljevic.
Again, the interaction you had with him, like congratulations, and it was like, wow, that is really cool. And I kind of thought, man, do you just pinch yourself sometimes and just go, man, I'm working for the Adelaide 36ers. This is bloody cool.
Yeah, I do. There's heaps of times like that. Well, especially the Phoenix game. That was a real pinch yourself moment. But that's when and that was actually to be honest, that was my first official 36ers game that I was the media manager, was the Phoenix Suns game.
Oh, wow.
So, well, the actual one, the first one, I was actually in the building. There was a few preseason games we had in Darwin beforehand where the team just went up, and you know, I was managing the team, but I was sitting in my lounge room watching it on the laptop and trying to manage the team from my lounge room. But that was the actual first game, was the Phoenix Suns game. But yeah, there's only one way to go from there, wasn't there, really? Yeah. It is pinch yourself moment. And I have a 7-year-old son, Archie, who's a big DJ Vasiljevic fan. He was a big DJ Vasiljevic fan when he played for the Sydney Kings. So there's a little story there. Like the year before, when the Kings came, it was Archie's birthday, and Archie got to meet DJ Vasiljevic for his birthday, and went all shy. And that was another pinch yourself moment. It's like, well, Archie, how many 7-year-old kids get to meet their idol?
Yeah.
You know, for 20 minutes, and they, you know, get a signed ball and everything like that. So that's pretty cool. And then just even with my son as well, like even school drop off and school pickups, like if I wear, you know, this stuff to school drop off because I'm going somewhere, you know, official to do something, you know, you always get the kids going, oh, do you know him? Are you friends with him? Oh, you know, we're gonna win. And that's pretty cool too.
Yeah, it sounds cool. And it must be, just sit there sometimes going, wow.
Although the expectation in the lunchbox would be that you have a Hungry Jack's in there every day. That's
I love the Hungry Jack's thing.
There it is.
You know what? I stole that idea, and I reckon that.
Are you using it? Is it working?
Not Hungry Jack's, obviously, but we use. You know what Haribo is? You have Haribo over there?
No.
So it's just like sweets. It's like a packet of sweets. So I was trying to work out what could we chant, because that's the great thing about when someone's having a free throw. What can we chant to put them off? Because normally everyone kind of does this kind of noise with their feet. Yeah. I thought, what can we chant like Hungry Jack's? And it was actually the mascot who said, what about Haribo? So Haribo is a famous sweet over here. So now this guy goes up and we say, if he misses 2 free throws, everyone gets Haribo. So you get Haribo, Haribo. And I genuinely believe that could take off. And inspired by Hungry Jack's and the Adelaide 36ers, it will turn into Haribo over here. But
well, I hope Haribo's paying a mean fortune.
No, they're not. We go and buy Haribo every home game, unfortunately. But we are reaching out to them. But again,
naming rights, partner. Come on, look, it's right here. There it is.
Yeah. Unfortunately, how many get thrown out and how many get eaten also is something to be considered. Because
we get swamped.
There's always a little pile of them on his desk.
Well, you know what as well is it's made a few entertaining moments as well, because we've had players who have missed their second free throw, and our mascot, who is a young man in there. So he's I'll say he's under 14. So he's a young man. So he's not overly aware of what's going on in the game. So as soon as that guy missed a free throw, the mascot just runs on the court during the game going, Haribo! Like that. It's like, whoa. So we've had a few of those moments. Kids just swamp us. Yeah. Like as soon as that free throw is missed, they all just come out because we've just got one long stand, bleacher. They all just come out the bleacher and just run towards where we are all with the sweets. So it's a bit of management with the Haribo, but I loved that. I thought that was such a great idea, like chanting Haribo and Hungry Jack's, and you get a free Hungry Jack's. And that night for that, not the Brisbane game. Who did you lose to?
Perth Wildcats.
Perth.
That was it. That was definitely Hungry Jack's. That was one of the silver linings of that night. There was Hungry Jack's at the end.
Yeah. But I mean, when we got I told my kids about it, and I was like, look, we're going and get some Hungry Jack's. If it does it, even if it's 10 o'clock at night, we're going. But yeah,
And let me guess, you bought a Coke and you bought another burger and you bought some chips and they made their money back and you're just like, yep.
But
that is marketing genius. I must admit, I'll throw myself under the bus here. So all staff get, a family pass every game. So 4 tickets. So my family goes every game. But if there's Hungry Jack's is one in the home game, there's without a shadow of a doubt that when after Dad's finished 2.5 hours after the final buzzer, I still have the 4 tickets on my phone, and I still get the 4 cheeseburgers on the way home, and usually it's after 4 cheeseburgers have already been won with the same tickets.
Okay.
Wow.
So
Wow.
there's they are the Hungry Jacks and Hungry Jacks owner Jack Cowan, a great man. He brought Hungry Jack. He's a Canadian man. He brought Hungry Jack. We brought KFC and Hungry Jacks out to Australia in 1969. He was a guest speaker at our Sixers in Business corporate lunch, just major luncheon, just a few weeks ago, and just his story and how he brought Hungry Jacks into the NBL. It's a fantastic story, and I can dare say, even if all 9,600 people got their cheeseburgers, Hungry Jacks are well in front.
Yeah. Well, look, I have not been shy on commenting on my love for Hungry Jack's milkshakes. I love them. Every time I can't go past one. I'm going to go get a milkshake.
Well, yeah.
You don't have the problem over there with milkshakes, do you? Over here, you go in and the first question you say is your milkshake machine working?
Yeah.
No, that's real. That's the same deal over here.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
And the ice cream machine, that's usually McDonald's. So that's the opposition. So
Well,
you go to Hungry Jack's instead for sure.
I've never been to Hungry Jack's and they've said the milkshake machine's broken ever, and I've probably been over there. I reckon. In total,
now you're going to throw
4
yourself
months,
under the bus.
4 months, 5 months, maybe a total in Australia, never. But yeah, that's a great idea. That Hungry Jacks, and yeah, like you said, I mean, I've seen that in the NBA where they've done it with 3-pointers and Chick-fil-A and stuff like that. So, but yeah, it was definitely one of the inspirational moments. It was like, if we could nick this, like, what, because it's the greatest compliment anyone can do is copy you.
Oh yeah, it's just a serious form of flattery, isn't it? Imitation.
Yeah.
Well, actually, in New Zealand, when I travelled with the team the season prior in New Zealand, it's Burger King in New Zealand. It's not Hungry Jack's. So,
okay.
But the actual thing is they still do the chant, even though there's no stores there. But it's the same deal with Burger King. But the added one was if the away team misses 2 free throws, right, it's a free cheeseburger. But if the home team wins and scores over 100, it's upgraded to a Whopper.
Oh, there we go.
Oh, I like that.
We'll have to throw that one out.
Double cap, yeah.
And when we lost that game, one of our guys did miss 2 free throws, so they had the cheeseburgers, but they beat us, but they only scored 96. So right at the end, it was like a 7-8 point game, but people were still invested in the game purely because of the 100-point barrier and trying to get it upgraded to a Whopper.
You're right, though. People are invested into it.
Oh yeah, it's the educating the crowd part. That's always the challenge. Is like, this is the part where you shout X.
Mm-hmm.
This is the part that you interact. It's those sort of bits, and that's one of the challenges we've had. And when Paul's doing the announcing and trying to get the crowd moving over the last couple of seasons, just bringing them into that knowledge of, this is the part where you do this. Yeah. This is the bit in the game where that happens. And because it was lost from this area for a while, having that level of basketball being played, you've got to teach the crowd again. Hey, this is what you're meant to do and how you're meant to do it. It's just
but I think when you're potentially losing and you're like, if we score 2 more baskets, you get something else. That's what Dale was saying.
But if people had the chance to experience this, so that's the thing. If someone could just come helicopter down, experience that in a game, they'll suddenly go, oh, okay, this is what we're meant to do. And it will educate them.
I have not been shy. I've always said, since coming back, I said, if you go to Adelaide and you don't go to the 36ers game, you are missing out. Simple as that. You are missing out. I can't comment on any other team. I've not been to any other NBL game other than Adelaide.
And you didn't have to fight many crocodiles, snakes, or spiders to get into the stadium. Which
nothing, not even kangaroos or koalas. Nothing.
Have you ever had some wild animal experiences in the stadium?
Mark has got this vision that the stadium is
I ride my
in
kangaroo
a
to the
desert or
game.
something.
Yeah.
Mark, I'll just get on my kangaroo and ride down the main street to the
I
stadium.
mean, look, you can just jump in the pouch. You don't have to ride him. I mean, that's animal cruelty there, Dale. Just pop in the pouch. He's got the facility right there in the front.
The only thing I would say, when I was there was where I was staying.
Yeah.
Where I was staying, someone sent an email to us. So just to make you aware, the brown snake has been captured. It's like, what? What's a brown snake?
Was that
and it was like,
wasn't a euphemism.
No, it's like a really poison.
That's Richie Didge. There has been in the summertime. There's brown snakes are pretty active, but it's a rare occurrence. But it's basically Australia wide really, because it's a rural thing. But with the expansion and population growing, there's suburbs now that are growing into rural parts, and there's mainly those suburbs that get a random brown snake in a garage, or a brown snake trying to find some water, but it's usually just those outer suburbs and in the rural parts of Australia.
Where the stadium is in Adelaide itself, it's very easy to get to for people, because I know Paul was quite like, I've got to go find this place and find where it is. And when you go to some of the ones in other countries and even over here, it's not always. Sometimes the stadium's either right in the centre, or otherwise they've been kicked right on the outskirts, sort of thing.
Yeah. So where I'm sitting now is in Findon, which is a suburb of Adelaide, which was a basketball stadium which was purposely built in 1992 for the 36ers. So the 36ers were playing in the 80s in a stadium that was probably 2,000 capacity. So this venue where I'm sitting in now was called the Powerhouse back then. It was built when I was 10, so that's showing my age a bit. Was a purpose-built basketball stadium, like 8,000 seats, and the junior basketball would play during the week, and on the weekends, and there'd be a 3-court stadium, and then obviously the stands would come down for the 36ers games, and they had one training session here in 1992. There was 8,000 seats, and they sold like 7,000 of the seats as season tickets in one day, and it was packed and that was during the glory days of the 90s, the Michael Jordan effect. So but then once the whole inner city sporting, you got to have your home base in the inner city, so that's when the entertainment centre came up as a viable option. It was had public transport, it has trains and trams there. It's probably like a 5-minute tram ride from the actual city centre. And that's when the club moved there 2019. So it was the year before the pandemic. So, and been there ever since. And it's just a massive upgrade. The capacity's gone up. It's 9,650. So it's not a massive push in like capacity wise, but every seat is like a cinema seat. So the seats at the old Powerhouse are like plastic fold down chairs type deal. So but now you're going to, well, you've sat in the seats, Paul, like as I told you on Christmas Eve, I said the seat you sit in on the 28th is going to be a lot more comfier than the free media seat that I'm going to give you here, the little steel chair. So every seat in the arena is like sitting in a cinema. So that along with the cube and the sound and that's just what makes the experience all that good.
And yeah, that was the one thing I was really surprised. I sat on the seat and it was like, bloody hell! Like, I have never sat in a seat this comfortable to watch a basketball game in my life.
Well, I mean, yeah.
Do they have a cup holder? They have cup holders, don't they?
If it did, he'd have found it. That's for sure.
I don't know, Dale. You'll ask me
Maybe
when
not.
we go. Was it?
To be fair,
last year?
Yeah, I've been into that stadium so many times, but I've never actually sat in the actual seats. So
Are people?
Yeah, 6 months ago. I can't remember.
Are
Can't
people
remember.
having a
last week? Let alone
shandy
6
or two?
months.
Are they having a shandy or two in the media area? Is that what? Is that what?
No.
No, didn't think so.
You're working.
Yeah, well, no, I
No.
know that, but I'm just saying, loosey goosey. Just
I'm limited to one box of bottled water a game, so I have to.
the way you started that phrase, Dale. I'm limited to one box. I could just edit that there. Just perfect. Just one box of wine. I'm absolutely fine.
So I actually have to make sure that I don't run out. More often than not, I actually run out of bottles of water. So, but no, it's all above board in the media area. I can assure you.
So
Yeah.
Adelaide. So you're saying like 9,600 odd. That's what, third, fourth largest crowd in the NBL?
Yeah. So RSC Arena in Perth have 13,000. Kudos Bank Arena in Sydney has 16,000 or 18,000 if they go real full house, and they did do that during when they won their back-to-back championships. They had a full house for Game 5 when they beat New Zealand a couple of years ago. John Cain Arena can get to 10,000 in Melbourne. They also have the option of playing at Rod Laver Arena, which is where the Australian Open tennis men's and that's the centre court. That's the centre court for the Australian Open. That can get to 15,000. There hasn't been a basketball game in there for a while. I think the Boomers, are playing a couple of games there in the lead up to the Olympics. So I think that's the first time basketball will be played in Rod Laver Arena for a while. But John Cain Arena is 10,000, and then there's us at 9,000, and then some of the other arenas are around the 5 to 6,000 mark.
And that's where
Tassie
the
Jack
BBL would be.
Tassie Jack Jumpers, who won the championship this year, they're around 5,500, but their arena's always full. It's season tickets. You cannot buy a ticket on game day to go watch them. It's all members. So they need to expand because they just won the title and they can't sell a ticket because it's all sold.
Is that something that's common with the league? Is expansion?
Yeah, there's rumours always every year that it's going to expand. It's going to expand. It's probably about time, but we'll find out when the NBL say we're expanding. So there's rumours galore. So it's the one thing. The best thing the NBL had done is they got to Tasmania first, like the AFL, like the Footy League, the Australian Rules Football. They've just announced a Tasmanian team. So the NBL were the first to get a national sporting franchise in Tasmania. So that was a coup for the NBL, and they've backed their team, the Jack Jumpers. They're probably they're the envy of the competition right now, both on and off the court. So they won it. They've sold out every game they've played. They've been in the top 4. They've only been in the league for 5 minutes, it feels like. So they're the envy of the competition. So when it comes to expansion, the NBL got Tassie right. So they'll more than likely will expand in the not too distant future. I feel.
Where's the toughest place to travel?
Oh,
well, it's.
I suppose that's you can answer that two ways. Hardest for Dale to do his media stuff, and harder for the players to go in and play.
Exactly. Yeah, it is. It's a multi-level question for sure.
From a media perspective, John Cain Arena at Melbourne Park is brilliant. Like because it's set up for a Grand Slam tennis event. So the press conference room comparing it to the Adelaide Entertainment Centre would be like chalk and cheese.
Okay.
The media centre in John Cain Arena is like big enough for like the world tennis journalists to fit in. In Adelaide, I reckon I could probably fit about 6 journalists in there on a good night. So it's very it's very easy. It's all down the one corridor. It's right next to the change room. It's brilliant. So from a media perspective, Melbourne's probably the best, along with Sydney and Perth. So it's sort of the bigger arenas are the better ones. But then from I haven't been to New Zealand's arena, Spark Arena, which is another 9,000 arena. The time we played a regional game. We were in a regional centre, so that had its challenges, but we can obviously understand why they do that, New Zealand taking their games all around the country. So I can understand that. But for actual fan experience and feeling really intimidated, Perth Wildcats, hands down. The Red Army, it's very, very stifling in there. Once 13,000 get right behind you, and you have about 200 fans if you're lucky, probably maybe even 50 fans going for you out of 13,000, and they're very passionate, very loud, and I'm very lucky to have been a part of a night where we won and they all went out very quiet.
Nice. Perth Wildcats.
Yeah, I mean, it must be weird though, because we see lots of the teams where you have, I mean, you've got 28 games, 14 games you're home, 14 games you're traveling. That it's a lot of movement across that country. You've got different regions, different temperate climates and stuff. We don't have those sort of challenges, certainly in the UK's British Basketball League. It's all the same climate pretty much.
And usually, because of the 28 games, it's between October and February done. So more often than not, there's 2 games every weekend. So it's usually a home and one home, one away. Usually, sometimes you cop the double road trip, which has its challenges. But more often than not, it's either a Thursday and a Saturday. Teams would play, or a Friday and a Sunday. So, if you play away, to say in Sydney on the Thursday night, there's more often than not you'll be back home playing on the Saturday night. So there's the fixturing is sort of like that. So every team plays twice, and hopefully, there were some times during the season where, they call it the strength of schedule. One team copped, one team, on the back of a 2-game road trip, a few times, and the try to equal it out, but it's pretty tough. But more often than not, most teams are playing twice a week. I'd say probably 80% of the weeks of the season.
And if you got that season you've just talked about, that's essentially 5 months of the year, that's the season. How do you deal with engaging with the community and the Adelaide fans in that off season?
Yeah, it's challenging. Like I say a lot, like when people ask me about the season and that, I say, well, the season is the easy bit. So because I have a schedule, I have the training schedule, I have where we're going to be, what we're doing, who we're playing. It's the off season which is the challenging part, which is reflecting on the season before and how we can be better, how I can be better, what different content and ideas I can give to our fans. Like, is it one-on-one interviews or exclusive club content, or do I give more players out to media, or like TV or radio or print, or it's sort of the whole the holistic approach of it's a 12-month cycle. Like our corporate supporters and partners and that want want us to be like in the news cycle. So the moment there's player signing or sometimes, or I'll go real time. So we signed 2 players pretty quickly, like they agreed to terms. But working with the GM of basketball and that, it's like, well, how can we sort of keep this a secret? So we could go make one announcement and then have a couple of weeks off and then make another one, so it keeps rolling around, rather than going Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, here's 5 players, here's our 5 players, and then for 4 months there's nothing, because there's no new news as such. So there's a lot of times where a player could be signed for 4, 5, 6 weeks that they know that they've signed, but I'm like, congratulations, you've signed, but please don't tell anyone, because we're not going to.
We need 4 weeks.
So what?
We're not going to, but we're not going to announce that. But if it's a real big signing, like at the moment we have 2 spots left for next season's roster, which are both import players. So the moment we sign either of them, even if it's both together, you have to release that straight away, because that news is just too big to hold back. So
you can share it with us, Dale. We won't tell anyone. That's fine.
Well, can I ask a question? Because the one of the guys that stood out for me when I saw the Adelaide was Trent Flowers, and I've just seen him in the NBA draft at the moment. So I said to Mark, keep an eye on this kid, because he's all right. He can play. And one of the things that stood out for me when they had during the combine, NBA combine, was everyone was going on about Bronny James.
He broke the record.
Bronny James. And Trenton Flowers came in, boom. It was like, Mark, I told you, watch this kid.
He has the highest vertical leap in NBA draft combine history now, Trenton Flowers. So,
and you know what the stupid thing was?
Hopefully for him and his family,
Bronny.
he gets drafted.
Yeah, I mean,
the focus was on Bronny for that vertical leap, but you saw Trenton's, it was like, wow, okay. Sorry, I interrupted you, Dale. It's the timings.
Well, no, it's he knocked him off by 2.8 inches, so he got him well covered. So as an organisation, we hope that he gets drafted, obviously, because he's one of ours, always will be one of ours. So, and we've had players in the past, obviously, get drafted from here, like Josh Giddey was one. Mojave King got drafted last year. He's actually back in the NBL now, Mojave King. So he got drafted in the NBA last year, but now he's playing for the New Zealand Breakers against us this year. So there's a little side note. But we hope Trenton gets drafted. And I think breaking that record, a lot of NBA clubs will see the potential's there. So it's probably didn't set we had one massive game for us, won us the game against Illawarra. I think it was around 3, scored 18 points in the last quarter by himself and literally won us the game. So the potential's there. He's got the highest vertical leap in NBA draft combine history. Let's hope he gets drafted in the first round, because the whole NBL Next Stars program, if your players get drafted in the first round or get a guaranteed contract, all NBL Next Stars have 2-year deals. So if an NBA club does draft Trenton Flowers and does offer him a contract, they'll have to buy him out from us.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
And that's the same with Alex Sarr. So the Perth Wildcats are going to get a big payday when Alex Sarr goes pick 1 or pick 2. That's huge for them, and congratulations to them for making him the first or the second pick in the draft. So whoever picks Alex Sarr, Alex Sarr's still contracted to the Perth Wildcats. So that's how the NBL Next Stars contracts work.
Yeah, well, I know we're going to be looking for Trenton Flowers and see where he turns up in that draft, and like all best of luck to him.
I mean, look, you've had not only just Josh Giddey, but LaMelo Ball played over in Australia for a year. RJ Hampton as well.
Yep, RJ Hampton, and LaMelo were the same year.
Yep.
I know the first time they played against each other, that was one of the most hyped games in NBL history back then. So and LaMelo got 3 triple doubles in a row, and then they shut him down. So that's the sort of the push and pull of does a club get a next star? Because if they blow up as such as what LaMelo did, they have the right to shut the player down. Like there was talk at the back end of last season if Alex Sarr was going to get shut down, when they said you're going to be top 5, top 3, pick one, but he decided to keep playing. And there was, I think, was it a game you were there, Paul? Alex Sarr went down with a bit of what seemed a gruesome injury. It was against us. I don't know whether it was the game you were there, Paul, but he actually hurt his hip pretty bad, and he actually missed some games after that. So I thought he was going to get shut down at them, but he did come back and play for them in their playoff run, and ended up making the semi-finals.
I could be wrong. Was that the moment where like the whole stadium just went, ooh?
Ooh, yeah. That was the number 1 NBA draft pick, which I thought he might have torn a hip flexor or something. When you see a 7'1" guy do the splits, usually it's not a good result, but luckily for him, he's fine.
Any man doing the splits, it's always going to get that reaction, quite frankly. Yeah.
I mean, I got asked the question because one of the things that I saw, and you know what, I actually love the Adelaide 36ers media stuff. Like that, all the stuff that I see in the socials, it always keeps me engaged. I'm just always looking at going, oh man, that's really cool. From whether it's signing a player, going into schools, or jerseys being sold and all that. I actually really like it. But one of the things that surprised me, and I had to go and ask Dale the question, was because I saw a couple of your players playing down leagues, and I was like, hang on, why is DJ playing in NBL Div 1 here? Like, he's an Adelaide player, what's going on? And then you'd see some other players, and I was like, what? And then I think someone posted on the there's little things they'll post on social media saying, I see you, DJ, and he'll be having like a triple double in the NBL Div 1. It's like, hang on, what's going on there? So Dale, for our non-Adelaide listeners, can you explain that for them?
Yeah, so the NBL 1 is a competition that runs in the NBL off season. So it goes from March to August. It's all the club teams in Australia. There's conferences all around Australia. So the NBL 1 West, funnily enough, is based in Perth. It's all the Perth club teams. The NBL 1 Central Conference is all the South Australian teams here. The NBL 1 South Conference is in Victoria, and it has Mount Gambier is in there as well, as long as the teams from Tasmania. There's 2 clubs in Tasmania. They're in the South Conference. The NBL 1 East Conference is all the New South Wales clubs, and there's an NBL 1 North, which is all the Queensland clubs. So there's all these conferences playing at the same time. You are going to ask me this question, I'll answer it now. Yes, there is the national finals, so the champion of each conference come together and play in like a Final Four type weekend. That's been happening the last 2 years. I have to work that out, I think, with timings and that, with NBL pre-seasons and that, and players not being available to play and stuff like that. But there is a whole new competition that gets played in the NBL off-season, and majority of the NBL players playing it. So DJ Vasiljevic right now is playing for the Waverley Falcons in the NBL 1 South Conference. Nick Marshall's playing for the Mount Gambier Pioneers in the NBL 1 South Conference. Alex Starling's playing for South Adelaide Panthers in the NBL 1 Central Conference. Sunday Detch is playing for the East Perth Eagles in the NBL 1 West competition, and Jason Cadee is playing for the Gold Coast Rollers in the NBL 1 North. So we actually have players all over the country, still playing in the NBL 1 competition.
And how many games are they playing on then in those competitions?
Different conferences some conferences have a lot of teams. Like the NBL 1 North, for example, have their double headers every weekend. So they have close to 20 teams. So they've got to play everyone twice in like maybe a 3.5 month stretch. So they're playing double headers pretty much every weekend. And when I have communications with Jason Cadee off and on during the off season, I'm like, well, at least you're keeping fit. And he's like, mate, I'll play more in the off season than I do in the actual season. So
that's what I was thinking.
Keeping massively fit. NBL 1 South, most of the times have double header weekends. The Central Conference, not so much. There's only 10 teams, but there's a few double headers coming up for them. And then NBL 1 West, there's more often than not, there's double headers. So there's usually the guys aren't losing any match fitness over the off season.
I was just thinking that it's I won't say extending their off season, but you've got like your 28 games in season, and then a playoff scenario or anything like that. But as well as that, you've also got obviously another 25
another
games.
Another league goes on.
A whole 25
and
games.
I was really surprised by that.
Just on fitness level, because you're fatiguing yourself.
Yeah.
Although you're extending the league in one way, if you're finishing in August time. Well, then
but I was genuinely really surprised by that, because if someone got, say, injured in NBL Div 1, sorry, how would you say it? You say NBL 1?
NBL 1.
NBL. Yep. Someone gets injured in NBL 1, well, that's
your season.
An NBL player there.
Yep.
Like, so I don't know. That was the first thing I thought. I was like, no, it can't be. And it's like, no, it is.
I'm sure the insurance companies love it. Yeah.
Well, the Australian or the Players Association, really, it's they're all for the players playing, because it's another income for them. So for some players in the NBL playing in the NBL 1 and being the star player, they potentially could get paid more than actually playing in the NBL.
Oh, wow. So
it's like a 12-month playing contract, but you're actually playing for two different clubs. But the NBL clubs can do sort of own their rights as such, like, if there's like injury clouds and stuff like that, if there's like an injury worry, usually the NBL club's medical team look at them, because that's known as their primary income. But there's stuff like that, and the NBL clubs can not clear the players to play as well, but 99.9% of the time that happens. And for the case of, say, DJ Vasiljevic, for example, like, he's playing this off season in NBL 1 purely because the Paris Olympics is coming up. He's in the 17-man squad for the Australian Boomers. So let's keep match fit for that Boomers camp, which is coming up pretty soon. So the moment the Boomers stuff starts for him, he won't play NBL 1. So it's just in between seasons to keep match fit for his Boomers campaign. But every player is different when it comes to NBL 1.
So I got to ask as well, Dale, because I know from some of the stuff you've sent me, you've got a history coaching in NBL 1 as well. A champion, winning a championship in there as well. So what's your journey as far as, being GM of media, being a coach in NBL 1?
My basketball journey, well, it probably starts back when I was 6, when I went and went with one of my best mates who was playing under 10s, and the rule was you had to be 7 to play. So I couldn't play, but then they were short and ended up playing and thinking it was football, and I punched the ball out of bounds. So that's how my basketball journey started. So I didn't know the rules and got fouled off in about 4 minutes because I thought it was footy. The whole basketball's been all my life. played junior for 20 years and got to the stage where the basketball, being a professional basketballer wasn't going to happen. wasn't growing. Didn't have any skills, so I thought, well, I need a real profession here. So my year 10 English teacher said that you never hit the word count with any essay you ever write. So you're a newspaper journalist. You will be a newspaper journalist. You get to the point so quickly. Try newspaper journalism, and I did. And as they say, the rest is history. That was in year 10, and I spent nearly close to 20 years in newspapers all around Australia. Got to travel and live in Alice Springs and Darwin and Townsville, and then got the opportunity to come back home and be the sports editor of my local paper, the Advertiser, which was a thrill. That was a goal of mine when I was in year 10, so I got to do that. So it was a pretty cool experience that with and then obviously basketball was always on in the background, whether it was coaching during uni or had some roles in boards and that of clubs. And when I was moving around Australia, I had some, I was on the board in Alice Springs and stuff like that, involved in basketball in Darwin, and not so much in Townsville. But once I got back to Adelaide, got on the board of my local club, which was West Adelaide at the time. We're lucky enough to win the NBL 1 championship that year, 2017, and that was when my son was born. So there was really no basketball then until now head coach of the Adelaide 36ers, Scott Ninnis, rang me up 2021 and said, "You want to be assistant coach for me for South Adelaide in 2022?" And
you're like, yes, 100%, yeah.
And I got the tick. It was about a 10 o'clock at night phone call. It was Scott Ninnis and Graham Kubank ringing me up and saying, "We'd like to be involved." And I'm like, let me get it past the president and treasurer of my life first. Got the green tick there, and then was fortunate enough to be a part of the coaching team there at South Adelaide in 2022, and we were lucky enough to win the NBL 1 Central Conference Championship. So we had a pretty good player, Paul. We had Alex Starling. He was our man, alongside Jeremy Smith, which English basketball fans would know a lot because Jeremy Smith had played in the BBL for a while. So I'm
showing Mark that.
Paul's showing me the picture of the.
There he is. So
yeah, that's cool.
Yeah. So I made sure when after we won the championship that I'm a prisoner of gravity. So I made sure I was sitting down right in the front and center. I know being a media manager, you got to be right in the middle of the photo. So made sure I stuck my ugly mug right next to the championship banner, and I was never going to get missed, was I? So it was funny enough. After we won the championship, we were celebrating a lot, and then I went up to the captain, Sam Johns of our team, who's about to make the speech, and there was a little bit of an issue with the tickets to the game. They bumped the prices up a bit. They tried to get but it was a full house where we played the championship game where we won, and a little bit of me. I was celebrating that we'd won the championship, but a little bit of media manager and me just flicked on and went over to him. I said, "Please don't say that don't bag the league to say that that the tickets were too much for the club." Please. He goes, yeah, that's fine. I was like, okay, no. Went on, kept celebrating. So
thank you very much for listening to this episode. That is the end of this part, but do not worry, because coming soon is the second part of this episode, and it will be available soon.